Can we make a watercolor slice look juicy and glowing and watercolor without losing the fresh, transparent feeling? Watch how the glow starts to appear little by little, even before the red becomes strong. Hi, I'm Beatriz. Welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to be painting this glowing watermelon slice, and I'm going to show you the simple order that I follow to make it look juicy and bright instead of heavy and flat. What I loved about this reference was that fresh, juicy feeling, that little bit of transparency near the top, and the darker places where the juices feel more concentrated. But I wanted more drama, so I changed the light background and made it dark. Instead of painting the red of the watermelon, we're going to start with the dark background. I know it sounds a little backwards, but the dark background is what is going to make the glow easier to see. So let's start painting the background. I already placed a little masking fluid where the dark background touches the watermelon and the table. Because this wash will be very wet and very dark, the masking gives me a little insurance. Now I'm wetting the background first so that the dark wash can move smoothly and give me more time before the paper starts to dry. For the dark, I'm using my own black that I mixed with brown sienna and French ultramarine. In a few places I will add indigo for variation, and because I want the background very dark but not flat, I want a little light inside the darkness. Once this wash is in place, I will leave it alone because it helps if it dries more evenly without streaks or blooms. And I want to remind you that the Paint Along pack for this tutorial is inside Open Studio on Patreon, with the tracing templates, reference image, colors used, and the direct tutorial link. I will leave all that below. Now the background is dry and I will be able to remove the masking fluid. Actually, I was very happy with how this dark dry, very nice and even. This dark background will help the watermelon glow, but the watermelon itself still needs to stay transparent. Now we're going to start putting the fresh layer so that we can start building the transparency of our watermelon. I'm wetting it, but I am staying away from the rain. I'm coming with a very diluted layer of transparent orange by Sminky. Yes, it is a watermelon, but it has undertones of orange and yellows, and those are the ones that we are building. It is very tempting to go ahead and start putting colors strong right away. Please don't. In order to achieve the glow, you need to put several layers. They are thin, and build them slowly. We allow that to dry. It's a perfect time to come and put some color into the table. I'm going to be using Moon Glow by Daniel Smith. It's a lovely gray, kind of purplish, and we're going to put it very diluted. Just be careful as you get closer to the black so you don't activate it. For this part where the shadow is, I can come with extra color and start applying it. Yes, we will come and put darker colors later, but just to give the impression of the shadow being here. Now we're going to come with the second layer. This is my transparent orange by Sminky, and I'm mixing it with permanent rose by Winsor & Newton. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start wetting my watermelon one more time. Then go from more to less as I come to the top. All this dry, we're gonna go ahead and start putting the rim. I'm using Monte Amianta, which is they call it natural sienna and Daniel Smith, but it's kind of like a raw sienna. It's just more transparent. And I'm gonna bring this one with some of the Perylene Green by Michael Harding, and I'm making a green that is more on the yellow side, but it is muted. All right, I'm gonna wet the outside part of the rim. And then I'm gonna start dropping this color. In some areas I can come with a little bit more of the raw sienna. And now I am gonna apply a glaze of Hansa yellow light all over the watermelon. It is important that you put your colors very diluted as mentioned, but also that you use transparent colors. So the transparent colors are going to allow that when we put one on top of the other, the light continues to come through. All right, a little bit here, and now we let it dry. I came with another layer of my original Moon Glow color, and now because I wanted to darken a little bit more the shadow closer to the slice of watermelon. Next layer is going to be Pure Red Light mixed with Permanent Rose. This time I'm going to go ahead and wet from the rim about halfway. Now I drop my mix of Permanent Rose and Pure Red, and then I'm going to start taking out, making a smooth transition from there to the top. Because we have several layers of color already, the important thing here is to just drop the water and do not push, and also to use a very soft brush. I'm using my Silver Black Velvet Small. Now I'm gonna let all of this dry. Because color is relative, if I continue to build the glow without having darkened the outside, the rim of the watermelon, I have big chances that it will be too light. So this is the time to start building that. I wet the area of that is between the watermelon per se and the rim. Then I bring my Perylene Green, and then I'm gonna put it closer as possible to the rim, and then I'm gonna let them bleed. The idea is that this will encourage it to bleed into the part that we wetted. To the Perylene Green, I'm bringing some of my raw sienna, and while it's wet, I bring some of that here. From darker, go from darker to lighter. And then we're gonna do exactly the same thing that we did there and to this other half. And once again, we're gonna go from more to less. So only water here. And then we start bringing the mix with the Perylene Green and raw sienna. And then we bleed. Then I'm gonna put a glaze all over this area. Now that I have all of this wet, I come with the Perylene Green and I allow it to bleed onto the other direction. And if it's not bleeding enough, just go with your brush that has more water and help it. The dark background is already helping the glow to show up, but the watermelon is not quite there yet. However, before I continue to develop it, I want to work on the outside rim and I want to darken the cast shadow. And yes, I know all of this feels a little backwards right now. We still have a watermelon that it looks orange, but bear with me. Once we put the outer edge and the cast shadows, then all those transparent layers are going to make a lot more sense. Because although the darks don't create the transparency or the glow, they help us see it. So let's continue painting. We had to put all of this as dark. So I come with Perylene Green, fairly strong. This dark is what is going to start giving, making our watercolor wedge turn. So the darkness comes all the way higher. Then I'm going to come top with water, and I'm going to put this into a stopping point, if you will, because I want to put now the cast shadow almost at the same time. So I wet a little bit here. I'm mixing my Perylene Green with some indigo, and then I'm going to start bringing it where the cast shadow is. Blend these two colors together in this area. More Perylene as it gets closer to the watermelon, and more of the indigo as I go out. As this is gonna go from darker to lighter, let me have a stopping point so that I can work on bringing my darker colors here and make my watermelon wedge stand up. Lighter, darker, well, now we get a transition, something in between. And now we're gonna allow all of this to dry. And now with the Perylene Green that we were using for the shadow, we're gonna go ahead and start putting some of the characteristic lines of the watermelons for a sample. I'm gonna put one over coming this way. Remember, this is curve of object, so we cannot do a straight line. Remember, there is variation on the lines. They go smaller on the top, they go the break, and then they get wider. And then also variation on the colors. Some are stronger, and then some we spread the color and it dries lighter. This big one, we're gonna put it and make sure that it goes with all these colors here of the shadow. Lost and found over here. As I say again and again, color is relative, so now that we come in with darker colors, the background color of the watermelon looks like it is too pale. Thank God that has an easy fix, which is allow all of these to dry, and then we will come and put a little glaze over it. These watermelons don't have all the straight lines, they have those, and then they have a few they are kind of broken in the middle, so let's just put those as well, and then go with water. While we allow our lines to dry, it's time to start building a transparency. I'm gonna wet. I'm coming with a mix of my pale red and my transparent orange. And then we're gonna start putting it thin, still is a thin line, but remember we already have other colors in the bottom. So always go for more. This is darker in the bottom, to less, just to spread this color around here. And at the very, very top, I just go with water, bring it out, do a seamless blend. And then here in the middle, I'm gonna start bringing some of this color as well. I am not bringing the color all the way to the very edge, but I'm gonna bring it to, say, somewhere around here, unevenness, and then I wanna let it blend with the other one that we just put. So we always dry between layers, then we wet before we add the colors. We build our colors slowly by mixing reds with yellows or oranges, and now it's time for me to start building more onto the red side. So to the pale red, I'm gonna add permanent carmine. It's by Sminky, is number 553. And now drop the color. This is more, it's gonna be more red, but it still has a hint of orangey. Again, it's very, very tempting to go ahead and go dark from the get-go, but resist that temptation. The only way that we get the transparency effect is by not making everything even. So now I drop in some, but I allow some other colors that we've been building to show as well. Drop it. With a brush that only has water, I blend and I allow some of the other color to show. Make sure that you don't have the line that comes all the way to the edge, a second line, and is not forming here at the bottom. I have a little bit of one forming here, so take care of that, and we'll let this dry. And now it is much easier to see the glow coming through the watermelon. We have built it slowly, layer by layer, but now we have come to the fun part. We're gonna make that glow really stand out. So that what we're gonna bring the contrast, especially at the bottom where the fruit is heavier and juicier. Then we will add the seeds and we will put a little bit of dark around them so they do not feel like they are copy-paste, but they feel like they belong there, the way that they look in nature. So let's get to it. Now I'm going to be using Perylene Scarlet in a little bit thicker way, and we're going to start putting a little bit of the seeds. I need to start putting some of these darks because it's going to allow me to gauge better with my eyes how dark or not I have to go into the flesh. But I don't want to go full black yet, which we will come darker in a little bit, because if I had to put my washes, some of these will bleed a little, and I don't want them to bleed black yet. I want it to be bleeding, and some of the colors, they are still in the same family. While we allow those to dry, I'm coming back with the Perylene Green and the Brass Sienna, and we need to darken this area here quite a bit. So we leave this part lighter. I come with water and go from more to less. I don't want to have a hard edge. Then I continue to bring the darkness in some areas, like here at the bottom. I get more of the perylene green, and some others, like here, I come with more of the raw sienna. And now that I have both, I rinse my brush, and then I have these two blend with the same colors that I have in my brush, a little more diluted. We're gonna also put a glaze over all of these. Again, I'm not pushing, I'm just dropping the color. Trying to bring our darker colors now. I wet, I drop in some areas, not everywhere, some of my perylene red with a little bit of Indian yellow. Now I have a new mix of perylene maroon with my reds that I was using, and also always a little bit of either orange or yellow. In this case, I think I got the translucent orange. Bring it all the way to the edge. We're building more of the glow right now by adding the contrast. So we've been building the glow, allowing the light to come. Now bringing these darker colors alongside the other ones. This contrast is what is bringing more of the glow on the lighter areas. Get a little extra strength of the color. I mean, same color, same mix, but with a little bit more pigment, and then drop in the areas where it's going to be the darkest. I had to work a little bit fast so these don't dry. Then with the lighter colors that we started, tap, and have a little bit of transitions. It's time to finish this painting. Indigo with perylene maroon. Let's just start putting these sheets. I come onto the sheet. Then with a brush that only has water, I tap a little bit at the bottom. Okay, and I keep doing the same thing all around. Alright, so let's just put the last details. I'm coming here with a brush that only has water, and I am not rubbing, I am just dropping the water. Then with the mix that I've been using, which is the perylene maroon, I'm gonna darken a little bit here and there. Perylene maroon with the red, the pearl red, and then let me tap with water here. And to this one, I added a little bit of the indigo that I was having to make the seeds. I just want to put a little bit of contrast between these seeds and this pot. Allow some of the color that we've been working so hard into building to come through. Drop your water, do not rub. We build the transparency by putting thin layers, building them slowly. Also using transparent colors, goes without saying, we don't need any opaque. And by having contrast, the moment that we start putting this contrast, the glow became more obvious. So make sure that you don't have everything even. Now I'm mixing a little bit of my Hansa Yellow Light with a little bit of the raw sienna, and I am bringing a little yellow glaze around this rim so that I can bring back a little bit of warmth and connect all this area with the glow of the watermelon. And now I'm gonna call this painting done. As you can see, to build glow, you need to have patience. We need to build the layers slowly, and then the few darks makes everything feel brighter. The Patreon pack will be linked below. I hope you learned something out of this video. I thank you for being here, and I will see you in my next one.